Hello and welcome to Game Brain. I'm Ben Mandelker. Joining me today, Mr. Paul Satachet. Hey, Paul, what's going on?
Hey, Ben, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. This is a in case you didn't know, this is a podcast about our game group.
Is it? What do we do in this game group?
We mainly crochet.
The crocheting game group,
Yeah, we're really bad with our branding.
Like, I'm looking at your photo of your face as a cake, and it says wild berry buttercream. And it occurred to me that, like, what is wild berry?
Okay, so some context for what the hell Paul is talking about. We're over here in my house. There is for people who watch the Great British Bake Off. If you don't watch it, you should start watching. If you do watch, one thing that happens is contestants will talk about the cakes that they are going to make, and then the production then creates like kind of a drawing that has like a cross section cut out.
Yeah, that's right.
And you can see what's on the inside of the cake. Mm-hmm. And so one of the listeners of Watch What Crappens, we used to recap Great British Bake Off. And so someone made this picture, which is an ode to Ben cake, which on the outside, it looks like a handsomer version of me podcasting. And it has dark chocolate frosting and chocolate orange whoopie pie headphones as I'm podcasting. And in the inside, there's a vanilla sponge. This is according to the painting, I should say. And wild berry buttercream. So I'm going to assume the wild berry buttercream is like a foraged kind of berry.
What kind of berries would be wild berry, though?
Aren't all berries wild? I mean, they're not grown in a lab. So I would say raspberry and blackberry would be the most.
Sure, okay.
I'm sure there's some Norwegian berries.
Mulberry? Is mulberry a thing?
Mulberry, huckleberry, lingonberry.
Okay, so it's just like foraged berries.
Yes. And so this picture I absolutely love this picture, but the one area that I have trouble with, I love that someone made this. They made it for me and my co-host Ronnie. But obviously, the one thing that I struggle with is I hate berries.
All berries.
So it's painful for me that there's berries in my cake. But you know what, though? That's life.
That's right. So welcome to Cake Talk, everyone. Like
you started this. You asked the question. Here's the answer.
No. That's right. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. So, yes, welcome back. This podcast almost did not happen today, but luckily Paul and I are American heroes.
American heroes, that's right.
Yeah, and I'm basically under the weather. Matt is even more under the weather. Tom is...
It's his birthday.
It's his birthday.
So everyone who hears this, wish him a happy birthday.
Wish Tom a big happy birthday. And Trey is in like Hawaii or something like that.
A greater, a greater place. But he'll be back tomorrow, so he'll come back down to non-paradise.
Exactly. So we weren't going to do the podcast this weekend, and then I woke up today. I was like, no, we should do it. We should do it because it's been off for a few weeks.
Ben.
Yeah. Yes, Paul.
I might be a great American hero, but I think you're the greatest American hero.
Believe it or not. Believe it or not. By the way, Paul, your shirt, great shirt on you.
Thank you. Like I was at a baby shower today, and this is blue and pink. So I didn't know the baby's sex. So
thank you for promoting the binary.
Yeah, that's exactly. But if you look, there's a blend there too.
It's beautiful. So we're gonna just talk. Paul and I are just gonna talk about the games we played over break.
We're gonna wing it, everyone.
We're gonna wing it. We're gonna talk about the games we played over break. We're gonna try to talk about. We didn't do any best of 2023 because we like to do that a little bit later. Although I saw that a bunch of podcasts and content creators did theirs already, and now I feel like I have FOMO because I want to be included in some of the year-end roundups, and now I'm like, ugh.
But we're here.
But we're here.
We do what we can.
We'll do what we can. So we may attempt to do an off the cuff. What was our best, like maybe new to me of 2023, sure. Or some of our favorite plays. We're gonna have sort of like a hindsight.
Like a amuse bouche of the best of 20.
This will be like a flashback episode.
Oh, that's good. Like this is a bottle episode that we flashback.
This is the two of us. We're with Sophia and Dorothy, and we're sitting around the table late at night. Pulled out the cheesecake, the Basque cheesecake, perhaps.
Yep. Yes.
And we're like, remember the time when that happened?
Love it.
But Paul, how's it going though? Did you had a nice break?
I think so. I mean, my wife came back from Europe, Ireland and Portugal, with COVID.
Love it.
And so, and then that destroyed my trip to Texas. So I don't have a new Buc-ee's hat, which makes me sad.
That's probably okay.
It is what it is. But I had a lunch with my niece, and then for context. My niece never really liked me when she was a
Like
kid.
many of us.
Like most people.
Like many of us
all
presently.
people, even.
Presently.
That's right. Like I am the least favorite person at this table, and I'm one of two.
And has she acknowledged that?
I throw in her face a lot.
Okay.
But now I think like she and I like now she's going to Berkeley and she's 18 and like I think she's able to appreciate me more in a way where like eventually you just give up. You go like, oh, I guess I'm gonna just have arthritis, and I am the arthritis, and and she's embraced me in a way. We watched a Taylor Swift concert.
I'm not familiar.
Taylor Swift is a musical artist.
Okay.
Yeah, she's known for being very wealthy now, and it was
she appears on TV every now and then at football games.
That's right. She has a less famous boyfriend.
She's right up there, actually, on the wall, with her actual signature.
Well, when I told my niece that Dom was a dancer for Taylor in her Speak Now.
Dom's my boyfriend, for those wondering.
She nearly lost her mind.
Really?
Yeah, she was big fan of Taylor.
Wow.
Anyway, so as am I.
I mean, I consider us both very lucky because I think it's been well reported and established that one of our biggest listeners of this show is Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah, she
huge
actually,
gamer.
She will not call in and say like, "Hey guys, can I be a guest host?" And we're going like, Taylor, it's not your. Stay in your lane.
We're just afraid that it might get off subject with her.
Yeah, I know, like you're doing well with your tour. Just stay in your lane.
But actually, a singer who is a gamer, at least to some degree. Actually, I won't even qualify like that because it will actually retrospectively sound kind of snobby. So I'm gonna say not even to some degree. I will say she's a gamer. Tori Kelly.
Really?
Tori Kelly. She's I don't know if she's won a Grammy or not, but she's definitely been nominated. Amazing voice. I remember seeing, I don't know if it was on her Instagram or somewhere, she went to Strategicon with her boyfriend and they played Catan there. I think they entered into the tournament or something like that. But the fact that like Strategicon was on her radar.
Sure.
That's cool.
Maybe Jesse beat her.
Maybe with his strategy of, what was his strategy? Like, you just don't trade with anyone.
That's definitely my strategy. But like, I don't know.
That's the way that Catan's really meant to be played. Don't talk to anyone and hoard everything for yourself.
That's right. That's like life, like the Monopoly, but on an island.
Like, if there's anything that's gonna like make me go, like that's really gonna like sweeten the Strategicon thing, which by the way, Strategicon is a local LA con. It would be to see Tori Kelly playing Catan because I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, no, like that'd be great. Or Taylor Swift.
Or yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
We said we were not going to talk about Taylor Swift's plan to go to Strategicon this year.
Oh, that'd be so funny. It'd be funny if like we just start this rumor and just go.
That would be great. I don't think it would have as much momentum as like, let's get Betty White to host SNL. But never know. We can always dare to dream.
Dare to dream.
Yeah, maybe she'll show up on Cardboard Creations with Candace and Taylor Swift right up there on the BGG page. I
love it. That'd be a win for me, I think.
So your niece likes you now.
Yeah, apparently. So basically, is this just to say it might have been worth not going on my?
I think so.
Yeah. So
well, it 100% was worth it because we got to hang out, we weren't supposed to hang out.
Yeah, we played some games, didn't we?
We played actually a large number of games. We probably would have played just a few more games, except for the fact that I got sick mid-game. That was a devastating thing. We'll get to it. I had to shoo everyone out of my house. If my voice sounds like a little stuffy, it's because of that. It's because of the Paul virus.
Yeah, so we call it now. We just call it the Paul virus.
Okay, so let's talk about the games we played, and we'll just see where the conversation takes us.
Sure,
okay,
100%.
Okay. I'm opening up my app. I will have to say, like the BG Stats app, I was resistant to getting this.
But you're pretty dedicated to that now.
I do it. I think it's a great log.
Yeah.
And it makes it really easy when we do the podcast. I just open it up and I can see what I personally played. But I don't like to enter my scores. I don't think I'll mark who wins. No, because I think when you enter the scores, it creates a tone of competitiveness that I don't want in my game night.
Bad energy.
I don't want it to be like, oh, well, you won this time, but last time I got a higher score from you. Like, I feel like I can see like a regression to like fourth grade.
No, it's pretty interesting because like way back in the olden days, like a decade back, like Tom and I had this bet. Like I had made this proclamation that he wins more games than anyone else, and he, in his faux modesty, like goes, "No, I don't. Everyone wins about the same." I go, like, I bet if we take a tally of this, like, the math the data will show that I'm right. And then, like, about 2 months in, I think we had the conversation. He goes like, Paul, I don't know, but maybe because of our discussion, I might be taking my foot off the gas a bit more.
Wow.
So like, it's the subconscious, like, I'm going to win. I'm going to win the meta game. And if that means losing
losing a game to win the meta game, that's what you got to do.
I thought that was hilarious. Anyway.
It is hilarious. So, wait.
Happy birthday, Tom.
Yeah, happy birthday, Tom. Wait, there was something I was going to say about that, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, I was going to say, I am aware that people use scores and stuff on the app because they are interested to track their own personal progress.
Yeah,
and they also want to track to see, like, trends in a game or if it's broken or not. I just feel, for me personally, I can just sort of see it going down I just feel like, to me, it's a little too...
It's a dark side for you.
It's a dark side.
Yeah. No.
It's a dark side.
Forever will it dominate your life.
Let's see. I think last time I was on the show, I think I was on the last episode before the break. I think I'd mentioned I was playing the old Prince on 18xx.games, and that was super fun. That game ended when someone went bankrupt, and I was just on the verge. I was doing well all game long, and I thought I was going to win. Like, it looked like I was going to win. Then I started to stumble a little bit, and then I had to take a hit. And this is an 18xx game, by the way. I don't have any more context for it. I just realized I'm being a bad host, just launching it on a game as if people know what the hell it is.
Well, you can access the game. It involves railroads and companies and stocks.
Railroads, companies, stocks.
And plenty of, like, conversation about this. So, like, just go
in the archives. But it was one of those things. I thought I was going to win. I was playing some really good players. I had to take, like, a little bit of a hit to do something because that game can be really unforgiving with the way the train rush happens. And then someone went bankrupt. Forrest, God bless him. He went bankrupt at the end of the game immediately, and I lost.
During your dip.
During my dip. It happened during my dip, and I was inconsolable. I was fine, actually, but I was very, very upset.
Well, it probably scarred you.
I was scarred.
Yeah, no, it's tough.
I was scarred. But then, more importantly, I don't know why I started off with that one. That's such a strange one to start off on. I think this is the one. This is the one that really chronologically is worth starting on. And actually, I think we probably may have the most to say, is that really the first game that I played since we last recorded was Marrakesh by Stefan Feld.
Like, for me, it was the first game I played in a month and a half. Because I was
really?
In November, I went to this meditation retreat where I basically...
No, but I played Evacuation with you after...
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, you're really hurting my narrative now.
Well, we'll just... Go on. Just pretend.
Anyway, so yeah, but I remember I hadn't gone to Tom's game night for a long because there's that. Because, like, I was gone for the first 2 weeks of November, and then Tom was gone for a while because of BGG-Con?
He went to BGG-Con. There was Thanksgiving. He also went to, like, he's working on his novel. He went to something in Vegas.
Yeah, so it was a lot of things. And basically, it was like the first week of December, maybe. Something like that, where I had sat down and all I wanted to do was play Avalon, but there were only 4 people.
Well, actually, this was like mid to late in December. This was like December 22nd. I believe. But the thing is this, we had like 3 non-Avalon starts in a row. And I think I mentioned even on the last podcast, like, again, I am not a lunatic about Avalon the way you guys are, but I've been really wanting to play it lately because I wanted to fuck with the meta some more. And we have not been able to get a proper game for like weeks,
if not months.
So it seemed like this night, December 22nd, I think it was, or 23rd. It's honestly too small for me to really see on my phone. 23rd. It seemed like, okay, it's right before Christmas. There's going to be so many people there. We're going to have like Avalon. I'll be able to like mess with the meta, have some fun with it. It's going to be a wild and crazy night. And then 4 people showed up.
But we played Marrakesh, which is really fun for me. I had a great time.
Yeah, so this game is by Stefan Feld, who is like a big designer. He designed Castles of Burgundy. I mean, most people know who he is, but you never want to assume that everyone just knows. He designed Castles of Burgundy. He designed Bruges, which became Hamburg. He designed Macau, which became Amsterdam. We reviewed Amsterdam a few months ago. A lot of games. In the Name of the Dragon, Bonfire. I mean, the list goes like truly on and on and on and on. He's like a storied Trajan. He's a storied Euro designer who's known for quote unquote point salads and systems and stuff. Is it too hot in here, by the way?
No, it's good.
Okay. And so Marrakesh. So Marrakesh is one of the latest games from Queen Games. Queen Games is doing this like city collection. So they've taken a majority of like our old Stefan Feld games and they've revamped them. They've rethemed them into like being about cities. And so I mentioned Hamburg and Amsterdam. I bought both of them and they're expensive games. They're like very expensive for what they are. And after buying them, I was like, these are fun, but I'm not going to spend more money on one of these games because it's just too expensive.
Yeah, sure. No, for what they are.
But then, people on our Discord, I had heard that Marrakesh was really fun. And I'd heard on other podcasts that for some people it was like a top 3 Feld. And then we had one person on our Discord. I'm sorry I don't have your name up right now. But he was very much like, or they, I actually am not even sure what their name is. But very much like, oh, you should try Marrakesh. You should try Marrakesh. So sort of like on a whim, I went and bought Marrakesh, and then I brought it to game night.
The non-deluxe version.
Non-deluxe essential edition. Yeah, because the deluxe version is like $125. Essential edition is still expensive, but I could live with myself getting the essential edition. That just came out. So I brought it to game night, and you guys were down. It was you, Dimitri, and Tom were down to play it.
And we played it, and I had a great time.
Yeah.
I think Tom was suspicious of his time. He won, but
Tom was he was very salty that night.
Yeah.
And he will tell you, like, it's not like I'm not like he was. I think he was. I don't know why he was salty. He said he was having some issues with like an upcoming thing he was working on that was giving him some stress. I think he was also probably a little annoyed that like only 4 people showed up. I don't know if that really is. That's my working theory. But either way, he was salty and he did not have as much of a fun time as we did, I don't think.
I think, and Dimitri was not loving it that night as well.
Right.
I think he was. I think he had other things on his mind as well, which is sad because, like, I think you and I were just going, like, "Hey, this is great."
We were like, "Oh my god, this game is so good!"
And like, I would say that I don't know if I would say it's so good. It is good, but where I really came out, like, this game's so fun.
It's fun.
It's fun. I was going like, "Oh wow, this is really fun." I think surprised.
I think it's actually so good and so fun. And I think you can't say a game is so fun without saying it's so good. That's my hot take.
Let me think. I think I could imagine people come up with a
fun...
all right.
Actually, you know what? I have an example of a game that was really fun, but is not a good game.
Dude.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. I have absolutely been loving Marrakesh. It has been living in my brain since then. When I was sick, I was watching videos of people playing it. I was just like I was consuming all the content I could because I couldn't play it. But like I actually think we've only had a few plays of it, 2.5 plays, because that was the game that I had to abort. But like, I think it might be my favorite Feld now. I don't think it's top 3. I think it's number 1.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where I love games where I look at the components, not just the physical components, but like, the mechanisms of how things work. And I go, oh, this game is a lot better than it deserves to be.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, I'm going like, it's point salad-y. I'm not a big point salad. Like, it has this, like the Shogun Tower. And I'm like, it's always been a novelty. But like, I've never gone, oh, this is so amazing. And there are it's pieces, it's pieces that it's constructed with, once again, conceptual, not physical, are things I've seen before. But for some reason, you put them all together, and I'm going, oh, man, I can play this again.
I kind of just want to play it over and over and over again. And it's funny because I've been thinking about the games that I've been really enjoying this year. Marrakesh is from 2022, but I'm thinking about the games that recently that I've been loving. You know, Evacuation I've really, really enjoyed. Obviously a big booster of Hegemony. I really enjoyed my one play of Nucleum, and I've really enjoyed Cut Nahora. But like, you know, Evacuation I loved. I think it's like an exemplary game because it's so hard. It's like so tricky. It's like so clever in the things that it does, and it's so tense. And I'm very impressed with the game of what it brings to the table of like how you approach playing games. And Hegemony I love for all the reasons I've been talking like a year and a half about it for, you know,
Check the archives.
But Marrakesh I love just because it's fun.
Yeah,
it's just like this is a game.
Yeah.
This is a game. I am playing a game, and there's a puzzle here, and I'm playing it, and I'm just having like so much fun, like more fun than I ever thought I would have, like beyond fun. It's crazy.
Like it's what I find when I look at it is I go, you know, the way it looks is how it feels, and it looks, you know, it's pretty, it's light. You know, like here's a splash of red, here's a splash of pink, here's you know, it's just like, it feels like and it plays like and you're like, oh my god, it's really in alignment with what it. And what's hilarious is like it's still point salad-y, you know, like but it's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
you know, it's so
I'm not of the school that point salads are bad.
Sure,
like I enjoy a point salad. I think that like where a point salad can be really fun in terms of like the experience of playing with other people is that you're watching everyone on a score track, everyone's markers going up, and like, oh, there goes so and so is another person is so far behind, and then out of nowhere they get like 20 points, and now they're back in it again. Someone else is back in there. It sort of has that excitement that a horse race has, you know. Other people, you know, will say, oh, like if you can get points for everything, then like what is the point? I'm just not of that mindset. Yeah, no, I like the jockeying that you get. I think it's very fun. Yeah. So for me, hearing that it's like a point salad that's not going to turn me off from this kind of game. Yeah. No. But I think that like, I mean, let me just give like a brief overview, which is that in the game, I still have not really been able to say exactly what the game is about. We are in Marrakesh, and I guess we're city leaders of some sort, and we're trying to have the most like prestige or influence by the end of the game by doing things in different parts of the city.
I imagine like, you know,
really thematically strong stuff.
If I were to lean into the theme, I go like, there are how many, like seven little sectors in Marrakesh, or how whatever number that is.
I think that there are
9?
9.
Okay, 9 sectors in Marrakesh, and as you know, as a leader of one of the leaders of Marrakesh, you're basically improving, you know, some of these sectors, and like the more you improve it, the more they can perform for you. And like at the end, whoever has the most whatever points, or like whoever improved their sectors the best effectively
is like,
yeah, like
you're the sector sector god.
Yeah, whatever. I haven't been to Marrakesh, you know, unlike Tom, who's been Marrakesh adjacent apparently.
Tom was very proud to announce that he'd been to Marrakesh and then realized he was in Tunisia. Yeah, so I mean, basically the point is the theme is like kind of like it's, you know, it's like a truly like a traditional Euro game where the theme is painted on, but like the way the game actually plays is that it has such a fascinating gameplay loop that I remember reading about it and seeing videos way before I got this and being like, okay, I guess. But like when you actually play it, it really bubbles to life in fascinating ways, which is that there is this tower that Paul mentioned, like in Shogun or Wallenstein, where it's I guess normally a cube tower where you put cubes in and you dump a whole bunch of cubes in, and then they all come tumbling out, but some get stuck in the tower, so you never really know what's going to come out, et cetera. It sort of adds a little bit of chance and yada yada. And what happens is all the sectors that Paul was talking about, they all have a little peg, a wooden peg that's like associated with them. So the pegs are called Keshis in this game.
Marrakesh. Whatever.
You know,
sure, why not?
Because I guess if you're from Marrakesh, you're called a Keshi, according to Stefan Feld.
Now.
New slang.
That's right.
It's the only Euro game that comes with new slang.
Yeah.
And so all the players have like an identical set of Keshis of like all the different colors. This is even too much information. The point is, whatever action you're taking is going to be color coded. And if you want to take the river action, you want to
play a blue square.
Yeah, you want to like collect your blue Keshi. Okay, and so everyone chooses which actions they're going to do for the round, and the way they choose it is they put their Keshis in their hand. So you've got like your 3 Keshis in your hand. You're like, these are the actions I'm going to do. I'm committing to these actions. And then everyone reveals, and then everyone puts their meeples on their personal player board in the sectors, because we all have identical player boards. And then, so we've all basically telegraphed, we've announced to the table, everyone
Your
can
actions.
see, these are the 3 things I'm going to do, and those are the 3 things Paul's going to do. And then we take all our Keshis, aka pegs, put them all together, and we dump them in the tower. And all the Keshis come, or most of them come rolling out, and then we have a draft.
Yeah, and then from the draft, we just basically what the Keshis, what the draft is basically, there's like a bonus phase basically before you do your actions, and so basically you grab these Keshis, and they augment whatever sector. The sectors may not be the ones that you are going to be activating on your turn, but like you can start bumping up various sectors. So like in your next turn, if you use this other Keshi, your bazaar will be worth more, or your citadel will be worth more. And so with this bit, like you're incentivized to invest in the present and in the future on your turn. Yeah. And you're always in competition with everyone every round.
Every single round. This draft is amazing because basically, just to piggyback on what you're saying, you know, Keshis in this game, their sole purpose is to make the action that you're doing better. Like over the course of the game, you're adding Keshis to your player board. Like there's like a date farm, for instance. And in the beginning, if you take the date action, you get 0 dates. But you add a Keshi to it, now you can get 1 date. And then by the time you add 3 Keshis to it, when you take that action, you get 3 dates. So you're always looking for any chance to get Keshis, because it makes you only have, I think, 12 actions in this game. So if every time you take that action, you want to be as good as possible. So then when what happens is we have all these Keshis come tumbling out of the tower, and then we sort of like, you know, sort them out by color. And then we have a draft starting with player 1. You can take up to 2 Keshis of a color. And it is such a fascinating decision space there, because you're thinking to yourself, okay, I want, like, yeah, I originally came here to get this type of Keshi, but I see that Paul
came here to win.
Yeah, but I see that Paul wants to do that action, and I don't want Paul to be able to do that action. So maybe I take the Keshis that Paul wants.
Exactly. So remember, like, you know, like these Keshis improve actions. So you can, let's say I have like, there's a palace. Let's say you see that I'm, you know, going to take the palace action, but there are 2 white Keshis there. And you go like, oh, you know, if Paul gets these Keshis, he's going to have a much better turn this turn. So why don't I just take them and improve my palace track, and Paul will have to do something else. His palace track will be diminished this turn. And, you know, and then there's a brinksmanship bit where it goes, oh, I really want to go on the river, but if I take the palace right now, maybe it'll come back to me and I'll still get the river.
Maybe I'll still get the river.
So it's all.
So then you're like sitting there, like on the edge of your seat, just hoping no one takes the blue Keshi. And then because if you can do it all, you get all the Keshis that you wanted.
Booyah.
Booyah.
Yeah. And I think what's great about it, where it's particularly fun, is like, I'm a person who's always talking about interactivity. And in this game, you are always playing against all your opponents. It's not just the person to your left or right, although they do have some more impact on you. But like everyone is vested in the outcome of the draft. Everyone is vested in like what comes down from the tower. It's all so basically every single turn there is stakes for you.
Yeah. And so then this has a massive effect on what actions you choose. So if you sort of back up one step in this process, now you're thinking, okay, I really want to do, I want to do the scroll action where I'm going to buy a scroll that's going to give me an ongoing power, but I'm like 3rd in turn order. So, or maybe I'm 2nd in turn order. So I really want to do that action, but if I put my Keshi in, then there's a chance, like if I choose that action now, I have to put my gray Keshi into the tower. And then since I'm second in turn order, there's a chance that it might get taken. Paul, who's going first, may take my gray Keshi before I can before I can maximize it. So maybe I say, okay, I'm not going to do my gray action now. I hold that off until I'm player one. So I know I have first dibs on it.
Yep.
And so then what happens is you wind up kind of deciding which actions are the ones that you absolutely want to use your first player privilege on. Mm-hmm. But then even that gets thrown out of whack. So you're constantly thinking about like, what action do I use and when, but also like, what does this mean for the Keshis that I'm putting in? And the best is when you hold off on taking an action, but you're able to take the Keshis of that color ahead of time. So that way, you're ready when you take that action on a future turn. It's going to be awesome. It's hard to describe.
Yeah. And remember, there's a block tower. So like it might not come out. And that happens. There are times when people go like, that was a bad pour.
Yeah.
So it has, like I said, it feels more fun than it should be because I suppose the game lives in between the rules. Does that make sense? It does. It 100% does. Yeah. And so, and I like that. I think it's pretty slick. It's not something I normally feel in a felt. It actually, when you look at the game, you said it looks light or whatever. I think actually when you look at the game, it looks overwhelming. Does it? I think when you look at the player boards, every player board has like 9 sectors on it, spaces for 1 million meeples. You have a central player board that has tracks. You have a gazillion pieces. It looks like a lot, and it's actually not nearly as crazy as it looks. And I know that's something that we say a lot with board games, but it really is true. And I think that like what's really interesting about it is that it looks like it's going to be massively multiplayer solitaire. Yeah, exactly. It does. Definitely does. Because you have these big, like enormous player boards. And apparently on the deluxe edition, they're even larger. So like, how can you have an enormous player board like that and it not be multiplayer solitaire with a Stefan Feld game? But it's not. I don't think it's multiplayer solitaire in the least. Yeah, no, like I said, the game exists. Like I talk about it all the time where there's games that are on the board and there are games that are above the board. And this game, for me, the way I play it, I feel so above the board. Yeah. It feels like, I'm really concerned about what Ben takes. I'm really concerned about what I need to do now. Like, what this person does and I think ultimately there's that point where you kind of bluff. You go like, I'm not going to take this right now because I'm going to do this. And I hope what I want is still there, and so what will happen is I will delay. I'll say, okay, I want to move up the mosque track. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not going to put my black Keshi in until it's my turn because I want to be guaranteed till I get it. So I'm going to hold off on this action. I put my black Keshi in and it comes through, but like there's one black Keshi, my black Keshi, but then maybe you and someone else have put in, there's 2 gray Keshis there. And now I've spent all this effort. I've engineered my entire round about being able to do this palace track thing. And when it finally gets to, or mosque track, when it finally gets to my turn, it's all set up and ready to go. And there's like a better option for me to draft first. And you're like, oh, do I go for this? Like this is a really good option for me. Or do I go with my plan? And that happens all the time in this game. Yeah. Like I have this theory, and I don't know if it's a correct theory, but like, I find games more fun if they're tactical. Like, like tactical games that like every turn, every round or whatever, like changes such that like you can't exactly plan the long term, blah, blah, blah. And so you have to reevaluate each turn to see what the optimal thing is in some ways, but you can't even really know that. I like that. I like that always using that part of your brain where you're going like, oh, I got to reevaluate, as opposed to like, oh, I'm on autopilot. Here's my engine. I'm just flogging my engine. And by the way, what cannot be overlooked as well, and this would be the area that maybe some would argue it becomes more multiplayer solitaire, is that when it comes time to execute your actions,
like this is the sort of game where you start pulling off crazy combos, like six combos, and as your engine starts to come to life, you're doing this, which gets you your free Keshi, and you put that Keshi down, and that means you can do this action, and then when you do that action, you get this bonus thing, and you get a date, and you get some coins, and you get this and then that, and you pull this, and like everything is firing off, and it feels good. This is like combos that are like full of joy. These are joy combos.
Yeah, they're dopamine pumps.
They're huge dopamine pumps. And I think that people will also look at this game and they will see player boards with 9 sectors, and they're going to also hurl, in addition to point salad, they're going to hurl the other thing that people use as a insult, which I don't think is an insult, but they're going to say mini games. Oh, it's a game of mini games. And I would actually argue that there are no mini games in this game.
I have.
This is my hot take. It's not there. There's no mini games.
I think I just burned myself on your take, Ben. It's so hot.
Yeah. The reason why so here's my theory, fleshed out, and then you can counter if you wish. Like when I think of a game that's all about mini games, famously there's Trajan by the same designer, Gugong by the designer of Hansa Teutonica. I'm blanking out his name, but like those are games where like you send your meeple or you send a worker or you do something in like an area of the board, and so are the other players, and so you're usually competing with other people in different areas of the board. I personally have no problem with that, but in this game, you're not doing that. You just have your player board, and you have just different areas in your player board, and different areas do different things for you. It's not unlike a million other games where you have a player board where if you boost your stat in this area, your abilities get better. So to me, it's like a very kind of ornate, over the top version of having like amazing stats you can improve.
Yeah, no. Like the way I describe it is it's 2 things. Like first, I'm not always a very big fan of like areas on a board where, like you have some kind of dominance thing where like the person who has the most X gets more points there. Yeah. And this game is not that. Like
I'm so glad there's not some like area majority thing tacked onto this.
Yeah, like where it goes like, oh, the person, who has the most in the Moss track gets an extra 5 points. Or like whatever. Like basically you can get your bonuses. But like your bonuses do not affect other people's bonuses. So that's how I feel like it's not truly a mini game. But I would also say that like the on the board game has a bunch of little places where you can call it mini game or mini game like. But the meta of the game, the above board game, is completely not. It just happens to be using these elements, and as such, like I'm playing the above the board game. So I go like, oh, this is really rich. It just happens to be like, that there are these places that feel like mini game-esque sometimes, but it's not, but the game you're playing is really something else. You're playing a bidding bluffing game in some ways. Yeah. And so I focus on that and everything else just kind of like services that metagame.
Absolutely. I'm really excited about it. I've already ordered the expansion, which is coming out soon. I wasn't going to, but then Matt, we were talking about how much fun we had with it. So then Matt, he went and got it, and then he was like, "Did you get the expansion?" I was like, "No," and he's like, "Really?" Well, he may not have even said "really," but in my mind, I heard "really."
Yeah, like your game voice critic is Matt.
Well, then I was like, okay, I'm gonna get the expansion, and the expansion adds like camel racing.
Okay.
Which is supposed to be really cool, and like asymmetric powers and a whole variety of things. Great. So I'm excited for all that, and I'm excited. Also, one of the reasons why like this is just us talking about it, our enthusiasm for it, but it's not like a quote unquote capital letter deep dive or review, is because we've only played at 4 players. And we haven't played a 2-player. Yeah, 2.5 times. We haven't done 2 or 3 player. We haven't played with actually any of the extra modules yet.
Yeah. I would say, Dimitri was probably a meh this first game. And then after, when he played the second time, I think he had a much better time with it.
He seemed to really enjoy it the second time. I think because the rules needed to kind of like, they needed to sort of percolate a little bit.
Exactly. Because there are like, each section of your board, like all the 9 sections, like, they have their own little rules, and like carrying all those places for the first game can be difficult. The rules are simple for each one. They're very simple.
Yeah.
But
But there's like some rules that I've noticed in each of our 2.5 plays that people got stuck on. People got really confused about like the red Keshi.
Sure.
And like there was always someone at the table who couldn't quite grok the idea of like the red Keshi and also what that meant for where you put your meeple and also the gates. Like they're just like there's certain things that like little weird things.
Friction points.
Yeah, those friction points, and they were the same ones in 3 different games, so it's not fully like
it's not super
a breeze.
smooth, in that way. But what I think they all go away after
They
first
go away,
game.
and then you can focus more on the metagame.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like I don't want to speak for Tom, but I think Tom is, like I said, unsure about it.
I think he'll like it the second time. I think he was having a night also.
Yeah, like having an internal struggle.
It can really affect how you enjoy a game. Are you segueing into anything in particular?
No. It's all you. I know you hate when a co-host segues.
No, I don't mind because we are just talking. So yeah, let's talk about it's hard. Like when you're annoyed about something, it can be hard to really dive into a game. And so we abused our poor sweet Jordan over break in that, and I feel mostly responsible in that I had promised him. Jordan has been on a real thing that he wants to play Imperial Steam, and he's played it. He's played it several times before, or maybe 3 times, I should say. But 3 in my mind is like several 4 games. But he wants to really go deep in it. And he's tried a few times to get it to the table and hasn't gotten to the table. And so I told him, listen, I texted him, I said, listen, next time, no matter what, I will play the game with you. So we had a game session, Paul, Jordan, Tom, and I. And basically what happened was Jordan had hit me up and was like, do you want to play games? And I said, oh yeah, sure. Let me like hit up. I was just texting with like Paul and Tom or something like that. So nevertheless, we wind up going to Culver City to play at
Tom's place.
At Tom's place. And we get there, and I've been excited because I got Manhattan Project 2 for like $20 from like a Christmas deal or Black Friday or whatever it was. And I was like, I kind of want to play this, And Jordan was like, well,
sure.
Imperial Steam. He's like, Imperial Steam or Brussels, And I would say you and Tom did not have you guys were not like, yes, for either of those.
Like, I'm not the biggest lover of Imperial Steam. In the same way, I'm not the biggest lover of Nucleum, for example. I think there are things, something about it, like it bumps me. And I never played Brussels.
Well, and I would co-sign Jordan's when he said Brussels. I said, well, I have the new Brussels. Like I was like, I would totally play that. It's one of my favorite midweight games. And Tom goes, I love Brussels. He goes, I like Brussels. I don't love Brussels, which when I hear people say that means please don't make me play it.
That's right.
I'll play it, but please don't make me play it. So then, and I had said, well, I've got, Manhattan Project or whatever else. And that was my chance to say, listen, guys, I had promised Jordan.
The better part of yourself.
The better part of me should have said, listen, I had promised Jordan Imperial Steam. Let's do Imperial Steam.
No, the better part you said, the better part you should have been like, you know what? Let's play Imperial Steam. Not even the promise.
But I didn't because I don't know why. I think part of it, because the thing is this, I love Imperial Steam and it's on my 10 by 10. But like, I knew that you didn't like it, and I could see that Tom didn't seem enthused, and I don't know. I just was like,
you wanted to play your $20 game,
and I had my $20 game, and I was like, this $20 game is never going to make it to the table, and this is the best group to play it with. So then you, Paul, were like, why don't we play Manhattan Project 2? I was like, sure, if that's what you guys want. I did one of those.
You just leaned into that, like,
Poor Jordan.
Poor Jordan.
He was the one who made the initial phone call and drove across the city. And then we didn't even play the game that I had promised I'd play with him. So I felt ultimately pretty bad about that.
But if we have a saying on this podcast, if things don't go the way you want, you should have met a game harder.
I've been in Jordan's shoes many times.
Yeah, no. Like, so in some ways, you should have known.
I continued the cycle of abuse.
That's right.
I actually participated because I've been on the receiving end where there's a game I wanted to play, and then like no one plays it, and we play a different game, and I feel totally unheard, and I just get upset, and I can't step out of it. Because it's not even about the game anymore. It's about the fact how what I perceive is how easily
you're dismissed.
I was dismissed.
No,
not a serious consideration.
There's no trauma worse than game trauma.
Game trauma is the worst.
It's a real thing, everyone.
And so I've been there. I mean, I had the whole thing with coffee traders, remember? And so I think I just was like, whoa, I'm on the crest of the
That's right.
I'm gonna ride this wave of people wanting to play Manhattan Project 2 right now. And so we played Manhattan Project 2, and Jordan was,
he tried to be a good sport.
He tried to be he did try, but you could see he was going through it, and I felt partially responsible for that for sure.
Yeah.
But that being said, Manhattan Project 2, what did you think about it?
I thought it was fine. I think in the sense, like, I would play it again, but I would play with the right people. Mm-hmm. I think there are a lot of things that are happening at once. And like, I think what I find the most problematic with the first play is that there's a rhythm.
Yeah.
And if you are on top of the rhythm, you're going to be fine. But if you're behind the rhythm, you're just going to die. You're going to die slow.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't know anything about that. That definitely did not happen to me.
The rhythm is gonna get you.
Yeah.
And so like I by the time I figured out, I kind of messed up here. It was too late. There was no way to.
Very thematic. By the way, very thematic to a game about nuclear arms race.
Oh, sure, yeah. It was like you're just gonna lose now. And there is another hour and a half, if not 2 hours, of you just embracing the suck, because. It's this race thing, and it lends itself to a bash the leader aspect,
right?
And I think when played correctly, it should be really, really tight because everyone is bashing each other. And I know that's not the favorite of some people, and I'm okay with that. I enjoy a bash the leader type game, but then that you have all these people trying to be second place so that they
it was there was like the game, by the way, is like a sequel to the Manhattan Project, which came out many years ago. By the way, Board Game Geek is down right now, so it's not even my fault that I don't have show notes or anything.
Yeah, there you go.
But many people know about Manhattan Project Energy Empire, which this is not.
Sure, yeah.
That's a whole different game.
Yeah, yes,
it's part of the cinematic universe of Manhattan Project, but this is an actual sequel. It's called Manhattan Project 2: Minutes to Midnight. So it's maybe a play on words, like it's 2 minutes to midnight or something. But it's like the first game was about a race to develop the nuclear bomb.
It's a doomsday clock, right? The doomsday clock, like at midnight. Yeah. So it's
exactly. And the cover art for this game is like very unsettling. It's basically like a woman and her children like racing out of their house while like nuclear rockets go off in the background. It's kind of amazing. I love it. It's like
for $20.
Like,
I mean, it's a lot of game for $20. I'm like,
yeah, I really enjoy it. I think it's a quirky game, and there is a lot of like, it's one of those games where it's all about the rhythm, like you said. Like, it sort of has a Zolkin thing. With Zolkin, you put down your workers, but you don't get the benefits till you pull them off.
Yeah.
So it's all about deciding when you place and when you pull. It's about a lot of worker management, but every time you pull your workers back and get your benefits, you advance like the doomsday clock. And then there's like 4 different scorings, and at the end of the game they all score again. So it's one of those games where you have to like decide which categories you're going to go for, and once the scoring starts, it goes really fast.
It's almost like a mini game. But I feel like there was like some really interesting interaction, and I feel like this was a game that came out in like 2017, and I think it's a lot better than the reception I think it got. Sort of came and went, and I think it would be really fun to explore some of the levers, pull some of the levers in it. Yeah, I think for all of it, like, you have to be a person with a pretty thick skin to play this at a high level.
Yeah,
I think it can be played at a high level, but
it's also a game where, like, since everyone's attacking. Like, it's okay, because remember Trey and I had that whole conversation about direct aggression and how like, when does it feel good and when does it feel bad? And like this one, I didn't feel bad.
Yeah, but you are a person who has a lot of bandwidth when it comes to that. Like, whereas some people do not. Like, for example, like this game would lend itself to like, why are you attacking me?
Yeah.
Tom's in the lead, and there's like,
Yes.
there's this idea of like, correct game theory play, and and then people's evaluation algorithms may be different, and like, but like, the worst is when you go like, well, I just want to attack you. I already attacked Tom, so it's now time. But like Tom's the one
that would make me feel like that. I wouldn't like that. I actually don't think it's a negative if you're playing a game and someone says, "Why are you attacking me? Tom's in the lead," because that's kind of like actually above the game interaction. But then if it winds up being something like, "Well, I just attacked you because I just wanted to," like, that doesn't feel nice.
Like there was a Survivor. The first season. The first season of Survivor. Survivor is a TV show.
Survivor, I heard that there was almost another cast member on the first season.
Yes, like just sidetrack. I got to the second round of the very first Survivor. That's before, like, there was.
I just learned this on Friday night, and I'm like literally losing my mind. I've watched every single season.
Yeah, and like I would have gone and been like middle person out. I didn't have the finesse to understand the meta game. I was just like, I would just go, oh, well, here are these challenges. Let's all just like be like do the best, and then like kick out the weakest person. And and anyway, there was in the first season there was a doctor. I can't remember his name. And there was a point where Richard Hatch, right? He had his alliance, and it all needed to work out if the doctor voted for Richard Hatch.
But was he the doctor doing the thing where he was he the one who was voting alphabetically?
Yes. and so
that guy.
Yeah. So I don't remember
or something.
Yeah. So he was doing this thing where like, oh, I'm just playing the game because like whatever, and it really disrupted the people who were playing the game at a higher level. And so it wound up being a chaos agent. And so in this way here, let's imagine you have three people who are playing it at this really tight, like nuclear bomb kind of like end of the world scenario way. And this other person would go like, I'm just having fun.
Yeah.
Like that would be a really hard thing because you'd put so much emotion into playing the perfect game, and all of a sudden it gets wiped off. Just like
I did that. Bomb. I apparently did that in this game.
Yeah, no, I know.
because I got a ridiculous idea in my head that I was gonna like do something with some like a third world country, which by the way, that's like in the game you can like influence third world countries, like little. Sure. It literally says third world countries. And although I think we would call it developing nations. And so
not back then.
Not in 2017 apparently. But and so I kind of changed my strategy, and I needed to do like I needed to pull my pieces back, whatever. I advanced the clock earlier than I think you and Jordan were expecting. And you guys seemed not very pleased with me. And then Jordan, I think, said something along the lines of like, see, like, this is what happened. Like, this is what happens. He made some reference about like, it's interesting or whatever, because like games, when you play them, when someone makes a suboptimal move. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize I was making a suboptimal move. But it's kind of that thing where like if people at the table decide that you have made the suboptimal move, then now you are like the
jerk.
You're the jerk.
Yeah, no.
Which I didn't realize I was being the jerk. But apparently I ruined the world.
Well, it's one of those things that
I was playing as what was my country? I was China.
You were China. Yeah. I was the U.S. Tom was Britain, and Jordan was.
I made enemies.
The US.
I was doing China really badly. I made enemies out of Russia and the U.S. So I really screwed up China.
But Britain did great. I think another thing about a game like this is that there's this point where you can see if someone's going to win. There's no way to catch up, and then people are just playing for playing for position, and I never really liked that because. In this scenario here, this is, superpower end of the world type thing.
Yeah.
So like second place is just first to get bombed. so like, like it should be, it's just, there are a lot of things that I think stylistically we as a group and maybe as a niche thing, I don't think there are that many, this isn't the style of game currently in vogue right now?
No, I don't think I don't think it's really the style of game for many people because again, this game came and went. I don't think people understood what to do with it. It was significantly heavier than the original Manhattan Project. So maybe fans of that game came to it and were like, "Whoa!"
And it's meaner.
It is meaner. The original Manhattan Project does have a mean streak in it, but this one is mean, which is funny because your actual workers that you put out there are adorable.
They are adorable.
They don't even have faces, and they're adorable. There's these adorable like politicians and workers,
and generals, and like spies. Yeah.
It's actually like the theme in this game is like so intense, and yet the entire thing just feels adorable.
Because it's a relatively small box.
Yeah. I mean, again, $20 is a lot of game, and I but what I have to say though is that like it also feels to me like it could be, not sure if it is, but it feels like it could be a game that with repeat plays, it really would blossom. Like, sometimes you don't feel like a game will blossom. And this one, it feels like, you adjust your tempo, you start to understand. And I guess maybe the downside is you probably have to play the game with the same group of people multiple times in order to sort of get the rhythm, that emergent, strategy. But I definitely want to give it some more plays. I just don't know when I ever will because
I don't
be a tough sell.
Yeah, I don't think people in our group would give it too much more of a chance. I just think it stylistically, you'd have to be in the mood to know that, like, let's punch each other today.
But you know what? That being said, Tom actually said he liked it, and then Jordan the other night we saw him, and he was like, by the way, I actually like that game. Yeah. So,
maybe like you said, this was going to be
Imperial's theme first before Manhattan Project 2 comes to the table.
Imperial's team, we'll Marrakesh, and then Imperial's team we'll get to. People love that game. Everyone loves that game.
I do like Imperial's team. Okay, so but I do think, though, by the way, I think the game is Manhattan Project 2 is better than the reception that it received. And I think that for $20, it is such a steal. I think Candace would really like it.
I think I would be okay playing with Candace.
Candace would have a rollicking good time. I think it would be a really fun one to play with Candace.
Like, I would say that there's this like uncanny valley about it where you could play it light and have fun, or you could play it seriously. But if you're in between,
this is very Tina Turner, like Proud Mary. We're gonna start this song light and easy, and then we're gonna get rough.
But if you get in the middle, like where like some people are taking it seriously and some people are taking it light, it's gonna be the uncanny valley, I think.
Yeah. Okay. We got to play this with Candace, and we'll see who else wants to be our fourth. Okay. Other games that we played. Let's talk about. We have still many more to talk about, but I want to talk about some small games that we played that were, I think, truly ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay,
dude. Go.
Dude. So, dude. Game, there's a game called Dude. And there's also a game called More Dude.
Dude.
Which you would think would be an expansion, but it actually does not. It's not compatible with Dude, which is very upsetting.
Nice. It requires some jury rigging, yeah.
So Paul and Dimitri came over the break. We had a whole day of gaming, including Marrakesh. Mm-hmm. And one of the games that we played was this game. We played Dude and More Dude.
Yeah.
And Paul, do you want to describe what Dude is all about?
Sure. Imagine you have a bunch of cards, and each one of them has the word dude spelt differently on all of them. And like, so there are various ways to say the word dude, like dude or dude or dude. Yeah. All these things. Okay.
Dude?
And so now imagine everyone else has the same cards. And what you're trying to do is see if you two are having the same card. So you're saying dude similarly.
Yeah, you have your own deck of cards, and you're looking at whatever card's on the top, and no one can see what's on the top of your deck.
And so, what's the word that you use to signal that?
So what happens is we're all saying "dude," and if you feel like someone's saying "dude" in the same way that you're saying "dude," then you look at each other and you say "chill."
And then you reveal to see if you have the same card.
You've revealed, but yeah, both reveal the same card. If you have the same card,
then that goes in your score pile.
You say "sweet."
Yep.
And then you put it, score pile.
And then if you're not, then you put it in the discard. And you just keep on doing this until...
And you can move, and if you're not connecting on your dude word, you just put it to the back, pass, and put it to the back of your deck. And you do this until I think someone runs out of their cards, right?
And then you count the points, and whoever has the most points wins. Simple enough, right?
Simple enough. So I think this is a game that's really meant to be played for like 6 players.
I think this game is really meant to be watched.
But it was just the 3 of us. And one of the reasons why I pulled this game out is, first of all, I bought this like from Target like in 2018, and I've never played it. But I was like, this game is so stupid. But also the idea of Dimitri trying to approximate a way to say dude is going to be too good to not do right now.
Not dude right now.
Not dude right now. So I was like, we're going to play dude. And so basically what happened was the three of us were sitting at my table going, dude, chill, sweet, whatever. No, I think it was actually dude and then sweet if you match, and then chill at the end.
That's not gonna be the breaking point.
It's not gonna, but what happens is it's like frantic, since it's kind of like real time, and we're just saying it to each other, and you'd think that it'd be pretty easy, and it was sort of easy at first, but then it kind of evolved and became harder as it went along.
Because like sometimes like your dude is not the same as your dude, and like all of a sudden like you're doing the surfer dude, whereas someone's doing the southern dude, the cowboy dude, and you're like, oh, your southern dude sounds like my surfer dude. They're not, and then you just move on. You realize that dude is a very complicated word.
It's a complicated word.
It has a lot of history.
It does.
It goes a lot of places. But what I think was the funniest thing was Dom was upstairs listening to all this.
He was trying to watch a TV show or something, and all of a sudden, from his perspective, we're sitting there quietly playing games all day long. Maybe some, there's chatter, and all of a sudden, the three of us are yelling, dude, and then you have Dimitri going, dude, and like all Dom hears is that we're all saying dude very loudly, repetitive for like minutes on end, and he just texts me, he goes, what the hell are you guys doing down there?
Yeah, so I mean, like, for what it is, it's great.
It was great.
For what it is, like, like you judge things for its context, and like if you're like, hey, here's a game that almost anyone, if you could read, you could play, and see how it goes. Like, it doesn't overstay its welcome.
It was like it's like 5 minutes. So, dude, the game, dude, it just has dude written in different ways. Sometimes it's like dude with a period. Sometimes it's a small dude. Sometimes it's like DEWD. Sometimes it's like big. And then the more dude, instead of writing, they just have drawings like a pirate,
a robot, or dude, yeah.
Which is, I wish when they came up with more dude, they'd actually thought of like the drawing thing is cool. I wish they had thought of a way so that way it could integrate.
It probably can. You could probably just add it as a module.
I forget why could it not integrate? There was some reason.
Because you couldn't randomly. You have to put in at least one type. So if you add robot dude, you have to add robot dude. But we were trying. You couldn't just half it. You have to like have the right. So everyone had to have the same dude cards.
Either way, it was actually really fun. It was like a really nice palate cleanser, and I actually think that there was something fascinating about it. I think there was something more than meets the eye. It's not a deep game, but there's something there about like you can write this word in different ways, and like the relationship between words and meaning, and who is that philosopher Foucault, who's all about sign and signifier and the signified. Like that's
were you president of the French Club?
I was. But like the idea, like what we bring to words, what we bring to like typefaces and stuff. Like I do kind of wish there were just like more expansions to this. Maybe there are. I don't know, but probably not. I don't know anyone else who's played this stupid game. But
it was fun. It was fun. Like it was
a blast.
Yeah.
I want to bring it to Tom's game night. I want to bring that. I want to bring Soda Smugglers, which, by the way, Soda Smugglers, if we're going to weave in like new to me's, like I think that was actually one of the best new to me games of the year for me. Just as like a total, as a delight, fun party game.
Sure.
We talked about it. It's like, what's it called? Sheriff of Nottingham. But like just gets right to the fun part of that and that all the other stuff.
Yeah. It's gets good to, like it cuts through.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've played it almost every single time I've played it. I think I've played it with you.
Yeah.
And it's always been, actually, you know what, then I played it actually without you one or two times.
Okay.
It's always been like, everyone's always joking and laughing and like it's big reveals and
like it's a game that like declares what it is, and it fulfills that promise in a very satisfying way.
It is, yeah. It's like if you're looking in terms of like a party game, Soda Smugglers is like, I think it's like it's a dark horse, and it's not getting any attention at all, but it really should. Okay, so here's a bridge. So Soda Smugglers is designed by Reiner Knizia. So another ridiculous game we played, which was designed by Reiner Knizia. We played a game called Art Robbery.
Art Robbery, yeah, that's right. Did you win this? Dimitri win this? It wasn't me. It definitely
it wasn't. I think it was Dimitri.
No, it was a super tie.
The three of us all tied, right?
Which means we all lost.
Wow.
We got
Art Robbery. What do you think? What did you think about Art Robbery?
Like, I would have played it again. I think you did not like it as much as me.
I mean, I would have played it again. I thought you guys didn't like it.
No. I think it's like, it doesn't overstay. It fulfills what it does. It has a good fun to investment ratio. I think it's great.
I thought its fun was in how stupid it was. Like, basically, there is like we're robbers, and there's loot in the middle of the table, and all the loot has different values, and so like if you play like a 3 card, you take a little chit that says 3, and it goes into your player area, and everyone's playing cards. And you can either take stuff from the middle of the table, or you can take it from someone else. So if someone plays a 3, they can then take either my 3 chit, or they could take one from the table. But and then there's some other complications that are not worth it. But like the round ends once there's no more loot in the middle. So I think actually like where the game of it all is, because you're basically just like drawing, you play a card, you draw up. So these things are just going all left and right. Like, oh, I got a 3. Paul just took my 3. I'm going to steal Dimitri's 4. No, then this happened. Then this happened. It's just sort of like, it almost feels arbitrary. But I think actually the real game that was there that we were not really leaning into, but maybe a little bit, is like, how do you time like stealing from someone else? And haven't like, you want to control the tempo of the round, like ending the round, but you want to make sure you have loot, and so there is more there than I think than what we played, but in the way that we played it, I thought it was very silly.
Yeah, basically at the end, whoever has the most money wins, unless, let me rephrase it.
Oh wait,
there's the other thing where some of the loot have these things called alibis. And so basically, the person with the lowest alibi count immediately loses.
One of those games.
And so no matter how much loot they have, they lose. And then the people who are left, you see who has the most points. And then that person wins. In our case, we all had the same amount of alibis. And so we all just lost. We all went to jail.
We're all bad criminals.
But I think it goes to show how, greed, makes terrible people.
Yeah.
So that it was really fun, and it's not that long.
It was like a heartbeat,
like a 20-minute game at best.
At best, and it was just like the Soda Smugglers is one of 3 games that Bitewing Games put out. I believe it's Bitewing, and they also just recently put out Zuvadis, which is getting a lot of attention. But the 3 games that Soda Smugglers was part of was this like Reiner Knizia Criminal Capers trilogy or something like that, and that, which is Art Robbery is not part of it, but the other 2 games were fine. One's called Hot Lead, and one's called Pumafioso, and they all are kind of like this. They're not the most riveting games, but they pass the time, and they're fun diversions.
Yeah, I think how should I say in the best way, that we as a podcast tend to play medium to heavy games. And I think we evaluate on things, complexities, and things, their goodness of their depth. But at the same time, sometimes there's a real beauty in a chicken McNugget.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like really important to I think that like fun is a really important part of gaming.
I would not sit and eat a 20-piece chicken McNugget generally.
Right. I did something like that once, and it does by around number 11, it's getting rough. But for all of it, if you're a lover of games, I feel like you should have a certain appreciation of
games. Like, even if you don't like the game, you should be able to go like, oh, I don't like this style of game or this game, but I appreciate what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
That's my hot take.
Yeah.
It's not sizzling take, but it's a hot take.
It's a hot take, yeah. It's not as hot as my take about Marrakesh has no mini games.
That's right.
That was the hottest take of all time. Hottest take of 2024 so far.
Boom.
We also played K2, and we played with the Lotzi
Oh, K2 was
map.
fun.
Yeah.
K2 was fun.
You like it? You like K2?
I enjoy K2.
Can you tell everyone what K2 is? Because I think there are a lot of people who may not have even heard of it.
Okay, K2 is a very simple game where you are basically climbing up the mountain in the K2 area. It could be K2. Dude, is there an Everest map? Or maybe
There is. So the original K2 game is that you're climbing up K2. Mm-hmm. There is a Broad Peak expansion, which I think may still be K2. There is a Mount Everest expansion, and the Lotzi map. Lotzi is a mountain too.
Yeah. Okay. And so basically, you have two climbers, and you're trying to get each climber as high as they can go. And then, like if they survive, which they may not, then you get the sum of their points. Yeah. And the higher you go, the more points it is. It's as simple as that. The problem is, like, in the end, like, you only have so much air. You only have so much climbability, and you have these cards that are kind of random in some places where, like, you get dealt 6 cards, and then you do what you gotta do. Or is it 6?
It's hand management game. Yeah, you have 6 cards, and you've got to play through your entire deck. We have equal decks, and your cards are either going to tell you how many like movement points you can use, or how much oxygen you can give your climbers, and you have to decide like which cards you're going to do. But always at a certain point, you get down to, like, because everyone has to play through their entire deck before they reshuffle. There comes a point where you are stuck with 3 cards at the end of your deck, no matter what. So, like, you want to make sure that those last 3 cards are the right 3 cards, because you don't want them to be mistimed like at a critical moment.
You don't want to have the 0 oxygen and the 0 movement or whatever, and you need to get down now.
And like your climber is like high up the mountain, and there's a squall coming through.
Exactly. And so, like, basically, there are various cards that deal with weather, and basically that makes things worse or never better. It makes things worse or not hit you. So it's either neutral or terrible. And as you keep on going, you're trying to manage your hand, keep your climbers alive, and if you can survive through to the end, they don't have to get to the bottom. But if you get to the end without having your what you call it,
your peoples die.
Your people died. You'll get points. And the game itself, by itself, is fine. However, what we do is we give our people names. And
I cannot emphasize how important this is. I've been playing K2. K2 is one of the first games I ever had in my game library. I got it like 10 years ago. And ever since the beginning, I've been very adamant that you have to name your climbers, because it really like opens up the table talk. Sure. And it becomes hilarious.
Yeah. And for all of it, like, there's stakes in it too. Like, when they're people, you care about them. But when there's little like tokens, then like whatever.
Who are your climbers?
My climbers were Helen from accounting.
Yes.
And Thomas Dean Donnelly.
Yes.
and so just so you know, like, I played K2 several times, and Thomas Dean Donnelly surprisingly has always been a consistent climber.
Yeah.
Never gets to the top.
But he does he does what he needs to have a good experience.
Exactly.
I believe with your climbers, what the narrative that we wove was that Tom went up and he came back down, but he didn't tell Helen he was back down. So then Helen went up looking for Tom.
Helen went all the way up to the top of the mountain,
and
then she just camped out looking.
She got stuck.
And then, if not for the fact that the closing credits were hitting, she would have died.
She would have died. My climbers were Timothy Chalamet and Nicole Kidman.
Oh.
And Nicole Kidman went up first, because, by the way, like, that's like the timing of your climbers is like a big part of the game. Key. And I think that like most people send up one climber and then bring them down and then send up the other climber. But Nicole Kidman went up first, and then I don't think she got in an avalanche, but there was some bad weather that she got stuck in. And as an actress, she is an adventurous actress, and she went probably farther than her body can take. And so she, by just barely made it back down to base camp, and she survived. And then Timothy Chalamet felt like he was very strident going up the mountain, and he was okay. He's young.
Yeah,
he was young. I think actually everyone survived, but like it was just so fun to say these names, and
it was great. It's a fun way to add fun to what could be a very procedural game.
Right. What I would love. They've had a few expansions for this game, and I think I think Mount Everest was not well received, if I remember correctly, or maybe it was Broad Peak. But like one of them, they added more stuff to it, and the takeaway was that it like detracted. And with this map, by the way, what's cool about this map is that there are 3 columns of the mountain that you can climb up at any given moment, and so weather affects different columns at different times. So you're trying to sort of like not only be at certain elevations, but you're also trying to be on different like left to right parts of the mountain, which is cool. That's what makes the expansion unique. But I would love for this game for them to come out with an expansion that kind of ups the difficulty even more. What I think I would like would be that you have 3 climbers. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I say 3 climbers, this will sound dark, but I think like meeple death should be a little more common in this game. Like I've seen meeples die in this game. I've seen people have both their climbers get killed. Like it can happen. But once you played the game, you can handle it pretty well. And I'd like it to be like, the reason why I say have three climbers is because you don't want it to. If you have 2 climbers and one of them always dies, then you have a situation where like, okay, well, I'm getting 7 points and I'm sort of out of the game now. Sure. But like, if it's sort of like you sense that everyone like might lose someone at some point, then like you stay invested. You stay invested and you don't know which one's going to die. So I think like
maybe, yeah,
I think 3 could be good, but then you have to have subsequent difficulty. Like I think like the path up. I don't know how you increase how you really stick it to us.
Gotcha.
But I feel like it should be a little harder to get to the top. Mm-hmm. And I think that like it doesn't need all sorts of other stuff like climbing gear and oxygen tanks, stuff like that. We don't need that. Just somehow give us like the
difficulty of the board. Yeah.
Make it feel, because I do feel like in this game it is hard, but I want it to be harder because the drama is so great.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. This is not a deep game, everyone. So like, but it is. If you want to get people into games, like it is a gateway game.
It definitely is. But that being said, I played this with people and they really experience a sense of dread when they play this. Oh, and we should also mention when we played this, we also put on like howling wind sounds. But like, to be fair, like there are people that play with this, they've come away with it being like, this game kind of rattled me.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I don't summit snowy mountains. That's not my. But anyway, so yeah, we did that, and that's fun.
That's a fun one. So people like it's a good family game actually. Mm-hmm. So really easy stuff. Another game. Oh, you know what game I got to play, by the way? I got to play Hegemony. Speaking of Hegemony.
Oh, did you? When?
I played that about a week ago. Okay. So I played with John D. Clare, who's a game designer, and then Shay, who you may know from the Rado game channel, who's also friends with
Nick
Malari, our friend. And then also there was a fourth as well. And so John D. Clare, he had really wanted to play Hegemony. Mm-hmm. And
because of our podcast, because we couldn't shut up about it,
obviously. And so this was something that Candace had arranged, but then she had to step out. So we had this game, and God, it was so fun to play it again.
It's a good game.
I'm not going to add any more to it. Archives, but like really fun.
Good. I'm glad.
I was really happy, and it seemed like everyone there had a great time with it.
Awesome.
So,
like I advocate that game. Like
yeah. I can see. I see the critiques that people have of it. Some people say that like the stuff you actually do on your turn is not always that fascinating, but I feel like,
have you ever been a worker? Have you ever worked?
The stuff above the table is just so good.
Yeah, so good.
So good.
I think the last game we played in 2023 was Age of Steam.
Age of Steam.
Which is like one of my favorite games.
Yes.
But boy, did you not have a good time as far as the banter went.
I mean, to me, this was the inverse. I thought it was so interesting. I had never played Age of Steam in person before.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I only learned about it. I had not learned about it, but I had only learned how to play it during the pandemic, and I played it virtually. Mm-hmm. Everyone, I'm sure, knows I'm a big proponent of Railways of the World, mm-hmm. which is basically the same system, same designer, Martin Wallace. That's kind of like, it's just sort of like remixed a little bit mm-hmm. to be a bit more accessible. And so I'm a huge fan of Railways of the World.
Which I do love.
Yeah. And so this game of Age of Steam, what was the map that, we
played Western United States.
Western United States. So, I mean, I think that like both games are great. I mean, it's like the DNA for both of them is so good, but gosh, I really felt like it was a joyless experience.
Yeah, no, I did not.
Yeah, well, you had a great game.
I won, but I don't think I enjoyed it because I won. I was enjoying how like so the difference between Age of Steam and a lot, like say Railways of the World, to me is like Age of Steam is a bidding game. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, if you're playing with people who know how to play. The game lives and dies by how well you pick your power
and I'm
for the
a terrible auction person.
But you did a great job of just immobilizing Tom and Trey.
I know that was actually like I felt like I had won when I did that. I could see the look and shock when I came in with a high bid to start the game. The look of shock in their eyes.
It was just one of those things where like I did two things. First of all, I was just laughing every time they got immobilized. And then second, I decided, like, you know, I'm in such a good position. I'm just going to play like Trey and just be so super cheap and not bid for anything. And I'm just going to take turn order pass.
Which is what I normally do.
And I go, I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass. I'm going to take turn order pass. Who needs loco? Who needs urbanization? And it just wound up being so tight for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. It wasn't tight for me because I was in the West by myself. And had anyone else come to the West, we both would have lost. There's no way to win. There was not enough food out there for everyone out West, you know. But so in that way, I'm like, oh, I didn't really participate in the game that everyone else was playing. Mm-hmm. That said, just watching is just hilarious. like we played.
What was hilarious?
You know, just watching people struggle as far as like, oh, I need to get this now, so I'm going to bid so much for this thing. You know, you bid so much and you still get third, and now you have all these things that you don't need and you don't want and you don't care about. You go like, this is it's just like regret management. Yeah. You know, in a way that I'm like, oh, this is so fun to watch because for all of it, like just for context. I played this game for a year, and I would hate playing this game, like because you know Tom would go, Age of Steam. Shut up, Tom. Like, you know, shut up, because Tom is very good at bidding, and I did not understand the intricacies of the game for my first year. And once I finally did, I go like, oh, I'm not playing a train game. I'm not playing a route game. The route should be automatic. Like, you know, there's a best route, and here, but like the game that you're really playing, the game above the board. Is knowing how to value these things, and it comes from experience. How are you going to know? Like right now, you need urbanization over loco. How do you know?
And I have like exactly. No experience whatsoever.
So here it's a game that requires investment, and so it's a really hard game for me to play full force with new people because it's unfair. It's totally you can't know.
Yeah. I felt like I fell into many traps, but I felt like I started off actually pretty well. I felt like I had a really...
I'm surprised that you stayed like, you know, not bankrupt.
No, I mean, I turned a profit.
Yeah,
you know?
I know.
I was doing well. My issue, I had a routing issue, and there was a moment where I should have opted for one thing. I didn't take it with my auction, and what happened was Dimitri built a track in a certain way where like all my future plans got destroyed, which was, I'm not mad at him. Like that's the game. And that's like, that's the funny part. Right. And I was like, oh, but then I was also kind of boxed in, and the nature of the map is you have to build this map is you have to build contiguously. So then I only had like one route, and like very quickly, that was like about mid game. it became clear that I did not have a lot of options left. And there were some things I could do, some things I could try. And I'm not a defeatist when it comes to games. I always try to to the very end, I always try to do, and but it was pretty clear I didn't have much left. And
it's a dead man walking situation.
I almost had a moment where I mentally threw up my hands and said, you know what, let's just let them block me out because then I don't have to do this anymore. But I was like, no, don't do that. That's so not the right spirit. I was like, I'm going to figure something out. I did stuff. I basically did stuff till the end of the game. It was fine.
Yeah.
But where it was joyless for me is it was silent.
No
one was talking. There would be, every now and then there'd be something like, you going to go there? You know, there? What do you think about doing there with that city? But no talking, no laughing. And I'm thinking, yeah, this game is great and has great decisions. But it's just so funny that we spend so much time talking about multiplayer solitaire. And all this and that. It made me think on a philosophical level, do we focus so much on this is multiplayer solitaire and that's interactive? What's the point of it being interactive if no one's talking? Yes, I'm looking to see what you're doing and you're looking to see what I'm doing. So yes, the decision space is probably richer and more dynamic and fluid. And that's fascinating and great. Don't get me wrong. But if no one's talking, is it worth it?
Oh, I hear. I would say it may be a function of that game or that map.
Absolutely.
Earlier this year, I think it was this year, we played Age of Steam Inferno, where you're basically Disco Inferno.
Okay.
Basically, you're in hell, and you're basically going from one disco to the next.
I didn't know they had a Culver City map.
Culver City is a city in the LA County area that Ben anyway, and eventually if you bleed out all the attendees of a space that goes dead or something like that. And basically it's Age of Steam in Hell and it's hilarious. And Mike Kanak won that, I believe. Wow. But it was just really fun. And I remember that game, there was a lot of laughing. And so
I remember when you guys were playing that. So I mean, it's not one of those things where I hold it against Age of Steam.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that session to me was joyless. It was fun in the beginning because I was catching people off guard with my high bids, but I just felt like no one was talking. And that may be a function of us, the vibe of the night, the game, or whatever.
You probably weren't you're still running off of how poorly you played Apple. I mean, so how good Tom played Apple a lot.
I was like, Tom played well. Actually, I think I was affected by that because Tom won, and I was Merlin. He called me out. He saw me. He figured out that I was Merlin very easily, and then he totally condescended to me. He was like, "Ben, you did such a nice job.
Happy birthday, Tom.
You did a nice job." And I was like, "Tom." So I probably was a little salty going into the game, but I don't know if it was just that. I mean, it's hilarious. Tom is hilarious, but I think I was just.
No,
I don't know. It was quiet. It made me reflect on I've played games like Atiwa, that has interaction, but that's also very multiplayer solitaire. Sure. But where it's been full of laughter and jokes and joy because yes, it's multiplayer solitaire, but people want to talk. The game makes you want to make jokes about bats and stuff. And at what point, what's really matters the most?
Well, you take K2, you can imagine playing with people who don't add our little character narrative, and you can see it being joyous. I'm running out of oxygen. I'm going down. I can't go back up. I'm not gonna make it down in time. And there's all this wind being played on the radio.
Yeah,
and, you can see how that too could be quiet and joyless. I think it's what you bring into it, right? I think in that particular game, I personally believe that because of its specific restrictions, like the build contiguous. There's a huge amount of fighting to start with, and then you start the opening volley of bid of 6, where people are going I didn't take enough loans to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was trying to do.
And so
because I knew I was swimming with sharks, I knew you guys all had experience, so I was like, let me throw everyone off.
Yeah, and you did, and I think that created a tone that was I can't
drowning. Talk because I need to figure out how to.
I'm drowning.
So it was actually me. I was the one who created the joyless environment.
That's right. Round 1, you go everyone's gonna drown.
Well, yeah, and then I was pretty cutthroat because then Tom there was one auction where Tom and I were he was like, it was just the two of us. He's like, okay, Ben, let's talk. What do you want? And I said, I'm not going to tell you. And he was like, but we can, this is the part of the game where people normally say something.
We can save money. We can save money.
I was like, no.
No.
So then he was like, fine. Then he bid one more and I go, I pass. So he, I believe, suggested that maybe I contributed to the joylessness of it because I was being pretty cutthroat on a meta level. But maybe I was just being salty from Avalon.
Like we can all be complicit and still have valid points.
Yeah. I don't know. I just have to say, like, I know there's a lot of talk, and especially the Discord server is really down on Railways of the World. There's been a lot of...
Really?
Yeah, there was like a whole diatribe about why it was like one of the worst games of all time.
Worst games?
Someone was actually not saying it about themselves. That someone was saying, there's someone I know... I may be getting this wrong about like they said they'll never play it again. It was like one of the worst games they ever played, and this is why. It was like paragraphs about why it was like the worst game of all time. No real decisions, yada yada yada. But for me, I feel like every time I played Railways of the World, it has been like sure, the auction's not as cutthroat, but like it has been like a very loud, festive, funny experience.
Yeah.
With people.
I think there's a type of game player that really wants competition, like really wants to test their mettle against one another. And there's another type of game player that is about like, hey, you know what? I want to really use my brain, but I want to laugh too.
Yeah.
And I think when you mix those two.
Well, people probably are both, but some people maybe the needle on the wavelength thing is a little bit more on the competition 100%. Side.
And what I would say is like, and especially if like you go into a game with a different expectation, like if you go play like this is fun, and the other person goes play like I'm betting my mortgage on this, like there are going to be different stakes, and like people are going to feel uncomfortable with
yeah.
So like I'm a person who goes in and I go like I don't know what this is going to bring, but like I'm going to walk away from this game. I'm going to be the same person I am. Not everyone gets that luxury.
Yeah. And listen, I'm not writing off Age of Steam because obviously it is like, it's legendary. I'm not going to be like, oh, I love Railways of the World and this game was joyless. And so therefore Age of Steam is crap. I'm not going to say that. But what I will say is though, that game was like, it was a little torturous for me. And I was like trying to not fall into that trap of being like, ugh, I want this to end. But it was, because it's...
I know, and you're probably thinking like, this might be better if we played Imperial Steam.
Honestly, might have been. I also think that like, for me, Railways of the World, what's so good about it is that like, when you want to do something, you generally can just do it.
There's just a cost.
Yeah, and like with this game, where it is so hard and interesting is that like, you have to do that auction to be able to have certain privileges. And that's like abstracted in Railways of the World with these operation cards. But like, I think, I don't know. It's like, if I just want to focus on like building to this area or that area and Railways of the World, I don't know. For me, I feel like Railways of the World, I can do for what I believe is the fun stuff.
Sure.
I like, lets me do the fun stuff more. Whereas,
we talk about that a lot, where basically how quick can the game get to what it's doing?
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to realize
it's the auction in this game.
Yeah, for me, the auction is really very simple. Like it gets to it really quick. The other stuff is just math.
Yeah.
The way I see it. So I'm going like, oh, we're really bidding that extra $1. Oh, Tom can afford it, or Trey could afford it if he just took more loans. But you're next to Dimitri, who's going to overbid because that's the only thing he can see. It's like it has that intersection of like math and personality and brinksmanship that I like.
But I know I'm sure there's like many Age of Steam fans who are listening who are like horrified by the things I'm saying, and I apologize to you all ahead of time. I can't help but be me. What can I say? I can't help.
Welcome to 2024.
Listen, I'm declaring no mini games in Marrakesh.
That's right.
I'm having a lukewarm
Sizzling
experience.
Hot. You're Disco Inferno
I am
hot.
just gonna make everyone furious. Can we? So real quickly. So do you want to talk about some of your favorite plays / new to me things from 2020 and in 2023? Were any standouts for you?
I would say for me,
this is not a ranking. Just talking.
I think when I think about it, what sticks to my mind is playing with Jordan.
Really?
Yeah, because like like the game that I feel it would be my number one as far as like game of the year for me is Age of Innovation.
Okay.
And the reason why it's playing with Jordan, because Jordan really has a hard time with it in a way that it's like visible. I have a picture of him. I was like, oh, you know what? I should make a shirt of this.
Meaning has a hard time, like he hasn't grokked the game, or
no? It's more insidious. Like he is smart enough and has enough experience with like terraforming. No, I'm sorry, Terra Mystica, that I believe he believes he should be better at the bid.
Okay.
And so a lot of time is spent like considering, is this the right bid move or is this not? Because just a quick real recap. Like Age of Innovation is basically Terra Mystica, except for the fact that like the faction powers are biddable. So you can construct your own little like stronghold power and in your factions and all these things. And they have another thing called innovations. But like for all of it, it's basically there's this bid element in the very beginning. And you know, for whatever reason, whether I get into Jordan's head or he gets his own head, but you know, I'd say there's a right answer, Jordan. and there'll be always this position of like, is this the right answer, Paul? I go, I don't know. And I'll sometimes give my opinion. Sometimes I'll withhold. There'll be positioning problems, you know, like, cause you have to position and for whatever reason, like, you know, it really like gums up, Jordan's brain. And the moment that really, really solidified in my brain is like we're playing with Jordan and Candace, me, and I think it was Jason.
I think it was Jason. I think I think you told me about this. Yeah,
and basically, he lays down, I lay down. Basically, we lay down our initial positions, and Jordan goes, "Did I just lose?" And I think you've lost. Yeah, you're not going to win. Just for the position. And then,
were you saying that sincerely, or you were just trying to get into his brain?
From my analysis, like, you know, it was where he had put himself in such a position because he was trying something. Like, you know, he was trying to maximize, but like I did something that was not within his interests.
Right.
And basically, if I did another thing during my turn, he'd be boxed out in a way that he'd have to just recover.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes like, hey, maybe we should just start over. And like, because we talk about Jordan and I, where it would be just a fun game to deal out the bids, you know, like as far as like the various factions and powers and stuff like that, and just go through that, get your opening position, and then like, okay, the rest is just math. And let's just do that again, because the bid itself is so fun. Because you're trying to create these little engines from these pieces, and everyone has access to these pieces. Mm-hmm. And the opening position is so important sometimes. And it's just one of those things where Jordan doesn't think he is as good as he should be. I don't want to speak for Jordan.
But you're saying Jordan doesn't think he's as good. This is your theory.
This is my theory. So I don't want to overspeak for him. But like, I've talked to him about this a lot.
Oh, okay. Because, I was like, I hope this is not the first time he's heard this theory.
Because like, you know, because he's, you know, he has this like this forlorn look about him when he's like looking at the board, and it's just so fun for me to watch, especially here, because he's just in himself over and over, and I'll go, I should do this. Should I do this? It's just hilarious to me. Because that's what I think a game should be. A game should, you know, your biggest opponent in some ways should be yourself. Because if a game is giving you that many options that you're steaming, your brain is steaming just a little, then that's great. You're using all your faculties. You know, like that's what a game should be. If it crashes your brain, then the game's too hard. Mm-hmm. But if it's you're slightly overheating, like you're maximizing.
That's the zone. That's the zone. Like, right? That's where it feels good.
Yeah, I think so. I
agree.
And so I feel like Jordan is in there all the time, except for the fact that he wants to win. And he goes like, I don't want to spend 3 hours like knowing that I've already lost. And Candace was so mad at him because Jordan would not shut up about it. And Candace goes, you don't know Jack. And he goes like, and then when I won, he goes, you see, Paul already won. He knew he won. I knew he won. And it was just so hilarious how, so that was one memory that I was like, oh, this is hilarious. This is so fun. Another another memory, and I'll make it short. I'm sorry, monologue.
No, monologue away. I like a Paul monologue. It's full of like drama and excitement.
Another because
and by the way, I'm actually listening to you. I'm looking also through my BG Stats app, so I had no games to reference. I'm actually listening. If you see me looking at my phone, it's not that I'm bored. I'm listening.
Yeah. So then I was playing with Mike Hanak, Jason, and I can't remember another friend of Jason anyway. We're playing Age of Innovation, and how should I say this? I take the handicap. I take the harder faction with the harder everything, and in the first 2 rounds, I'm getting like slaughtered. Like I'm getting beat up. I'm at like negative 10, or I'm not negative. I'm negative, and people are like 30, 40, 50 points ahead of me.
Yeah.
And Mike has gotten so sick of like me winning, and he's like, aha, look at you, Paul. Like, let me tell you this, Paul. If you win this game, I'll take you to dinner.
Mike.
And it just got me focused right up, and and so in the next 4 rounds, I'm able to turn it around, and it goes, damn it, man. And like you could see the crest of my
This was like when Spike Lee made fun of Reggie Miller in the playoffs in 1994, and the Knicks were about to
Knicks killer.
Right? Do you remember that when this happened?
Yeah.
And like the Knicks were about to move on to the next phase or whatever, and then Reggie Miller was like, "Oh, you're gonna make fun of me," and then like
Knicks killer.
Oh man, that was legendary. Then Reggie Miller did the famous thing with his hands. Yeah.
And so it's like we get done at like 1:30, and then in the morning, and then we go get Korean barbecue. It was just like 2023 Age of Innovation. Mwah, chef's kiss.
Yeah. I've enjoyed Age of Innovation. I haven't loved it as much as you guys have, but it would probably be on my top 10 of the year.
Like I'm the biggest proponent, I think, of it.
Yeah, but I think that's great. I think it's actually been really fun seeing you be a proponent of a game like that. Like that this is like the Paul game, right? I have to say, like in terms of like the games that were new to me that I really loved, I would say like there's like two that are like in like the S tier, and that would be Red Cathedral and The Rich and the Good.
Both those, love those games.
Like love those. The Rich and the Good might have an edge only because I can see myself getting that to the table with more varied groups of people. Yeah. And honestly, I mean, the first time we played Red Cathedral, I think we were playing together, and I got the tingles. My heart was beating. I was like, this game is so good. This game is so good. I love this game. Oh my God, this game is doing
quickly
everything
got the expansion.
Expansion is wonderful. I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely amazing. And then I also had that experience with The Rich and the Good. The difference is that with The Rich and the Good versus Red Cathedral, the Red Cathedral, I did not have an epic session that we had with John and Stacy, where John and Stacy at the end of the game tied each other in terms of having the least amount of charitable donations, and they eliminated each other. And it was this great, John and Stacy are a couple, and Stacy was about to win by a landslide, and John decided to donate something to charity. And the way the game goes, like whoever has the least charitable givings gets eliminated. So they took each other out.
So what's really funny is like Stacy is a killer.
Killer.
She's a finance person. So this game is about money and stock market manipulation. And she was killing us as far as her stock. Killing us. There was we're playing for second if. And then all of a sudden there was this like random situation where John has this opportunity to donate
I said something, right?
Yeah. And it happened, and like you don't really know until it's revealed.
I think I made some comment like, by the way, John, don't forget, like it is important to donate, even though you were ahead before at the checkpoint. Like, don't rest on your laurels. He was like, okay, I'll donate something. And by him doing that,
it was the exact amount that matched her, and both of them out of because like it's the rich and the good, and obviously these two people were not good.
And I think just like that theatrical moment of like, was so good.
It's crazy. It's hilarious.
And every time I played the game, the reveal of who is, donated the least has always been a little surprising and always hilarious. Yep. And I know we were talking to Tom, and he had, I guess, 2 plays where the stock market had really kind of like maxed out. So that's a shame, because we've had experiences where the stock market's been all over the place. Yeah. And so for me, it's always been a very dynamic game. And I think Rich and the Good is like, if Rich and the Good was just like
it was a fine.
I think that's like an excellent game.
Yeah.
And that's probably like my number one like new to me of
experience
of 2023 experience wise. You know, I had a lot of fun watching you melt down playing 1880 because you never melt down. And so that was really great. And that was also a really fun day, despite, you know, the fact that you had a meltdown.
The 15-hour Age of Sea, no, the 18XX, yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. And I also played it with some friends recently. It was also a very long game. And also someone had a meltdown at the end, like, hurry the fuck up. That was a great session too, even if it was super long. So I mentioned Soda Smugglers. I thought that was a great new to me game. Yeah. Sky Mines, I feel like getting reacquainted with Sky Mines was like wonderful. I'm like, oh my God, this game is so good. Definitely, like, even though I had played it solo last year, it was this year when I really felt like I played it. It felt like it was new to me this year. That was so good. You know, another thing, speaking of Jordan, that was really funny. We played Tragedy Looper. Were you part of that game?
No, I played Tragedy Looper 2023.
I was playing it. I played it with Dimitri and Jordan, and that was really fun because, and I think Jesse was with us too. And what was fun about that is Dimitri always has very interesting theories anytime we play the game.
And he's so sure about it.
Well, but what was interesting though is that, so Dimitri has sort of these theories that are, you go, about, sure. And then Jordan he's a lawyer and he's very like logic driven, and he also has strong theories. And so in Tragedy Looper, I was the mastermind and I was going to do something, and Jordan was very sure that it was going to be one thing. Dimitri was very sure it was going to be another thing, and it was neither of them. And watching the reaction during the reveal, I just remember it being like it wasn't like, oh my God, I just outsmarted you. It was more like, I love that for them, they got like the rug pulled out from under them. And that like for a moment, it was like, oh, I have to rethink everything. That was just a fun experience.
Twilight Imperium.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, that was a great. I played my first Twilight Imperium this year, and I had a great time. But boy, did I really enjoy watching people melt down.
There was a meltdown. There was a meltdown at the end of the game. You could listen to the archives about that one.
Yeah, but that was really fun. I really enjoyed that.
That was a great time. Also, you know what? When we played Brick and Mortar, do you remember playing that?
Yeah, like at Matt's?
Yeah, at Matt's. And you had a horrific game.
Uh-huh.
And it was really entertaining to watch you try to like plug all the holes in your game, and you were just going down.
Like I'm known for saying my game night is successful if someone loses their cookies, and that someone could be me. Uh-huh. But I'm totally fine if it's me. But if someone like really loses their cookies, because like, remember, you're playing with like cardboard and plastic.
Yes.
And to lose your mind over cardboard and plastic is ridiculous. And so it means someone really took it seriously. And I for whatever reason, good or bad, I just love the fact that like on occasion someone will lose their mind. And
yeah, you know what? It was also a great game. It was actually a great day of gaming. It was early in 2023. You, me, Jordan, I should say you, Jordan, David Gillison, and I played games for like a whole day.
Yeah.
And we played Mind Management, which was super fun.
Yes.
And that was really fun watching. I think I was I was trying to outsmart you guys. Now, that was a case where I was boxed in by you guys. This was not like Tragedy Looper. I did not outsmart anyone. And that was really fun. But then we also played Lords of Vegas late at night.
Oh my God, Lords of Vegas.
That
was hilarious.
So fun. But we thought we were being clever. What did we do? We like changed the rules that way the game would last longer than it was supposed to.
A little too long.
And it turns out like, no, it was calibrated for the right length. And we kind of like,
once again, someone lost their mind. And it wasn't me, and it wasn't David, and I wasn't Ben. So
this is not supposed to be like a pylon here, but again, I mean, these are all fit into your like in your way of like your definition of like what makes a great game. That someone loses their mind.
I think so. I think because like I haven't said this in a while in the podcast, but basically, you're here to make memories. Like there's if you play board games and you walk out and they all blend into the same thing, like what have you really done? You've just spent your time, like, and you have no record of that. But like if you're playing games and it feels such that like you really can activate that part of your feelings that like, make it feel dramatic, and you go through decades. I have memories decades ago where I'm like, oh, it's so vivid. I remember when we first played Battlestar Galactica, and Tom just yelled and yelled at Dimitri because like he thought that like, Dimitri thought he was a Cylon and I was a Cylon, and we were like, oh, and like I still have it, and I still smile. Like, and
always at the end, you're always just laughing about all this stuff.
Yeah, and like like you're making your spare time, your luxury time, like mean something. And I really believe that like good emotion, laughter, and like tears, like all this stuff is like game night should be drama.
Yeah. It should be. Well, I think actually, by the way, like Twilight Imperium, I had played January of last year as well, and Jake. Friend of the podcast, Jake, not Jake, who's on the podcast, but Jake, a different Jake, Jake number 2. I believe we had a situation where like his entire fleet was on Mechatol Rex, or there's some situation where there was going to be a roll of the dice, and based on the roll of the dice, everything was going to be annihilated, or he was going to have a huge triumph. And he rolled the dice, and he lost everything, and we recorded it. And it was hilarious, and it sucked for him, and he handled it well. He was very chill. He was like, well, good night, everyone, jokingly. And I had that happen to me once before. And like, it's true, like those moments, sometimes those moments of extreme drama, like they make it great.
Like this last year, like one of your favorite moments, my least favorite moment, being the 18XX from Hell, where we're spending 15 hours and I'm dying. I'm literally dying. I look back at that and I go like, that makes me smile.
Yeah.
Like I'm not angry at any one person, James. I'm not, I look back and I go, that was like I have 365 days a year. I have, this many hours. How many hours do you remember? Mm-hmm. How many hours, how many moments do you remember in your year?
Yeah.
And like I have that, it wasn't fun going through it at the time.
Right.
But like, for me, but like it made some people laugh. It made some people smile, that some people got to win, and some people got to watch me lose my cookies. Yeah. It's totally okay.
It's probably like me losing my mind at the end of Democker. I was like, I'm never playing this game again. Yeah. It's probably hilarious for everyone else to see me do that. The other, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, it was also actually a very fond memory. Was when we played like 2 games of Hegemony at once at Tom's office. We had 2 games going. Yeah. And that was a fun memory for me because we started early, and I think it was like midweek or something. And it was like everyone was excited. So we had 2 of the same game going, and like they had that special energy. And there was a little bit of a dust up at the other game.
Sure.
And that dust up was honestly, it was very funny to me. Listen, it was funny because, again, it was one of those things where someone said something very caustic. Mm-hmm. The other person was like, you know what? Shut the fuck up, basically. And there was like an awkward silence that fell across the room. But it was kind of like, we always talk about, oh, was that the night that so-and-so said that thing? And it's funny.
This was Mike and Dimitri, right?
Oh, yes, it was Mike and Dimitri. We'll say it.
If Dimitri, like, Dimitri's tired of Tom just like pushing, like kind of like maneuvering Mike, and Dimitri could not let it go, so he keeps on just like sniping at Mike again and again and again, and Mike goes like, mate, you gone too far.
And he stood up from the table and he did this thing where he like sort of punched the air in a way that was almost like Tony the Tiger. And he was sort of like, he's like, you've gone too far, mate, too far. I'm just trying to fucking play the game. And we were all like, what's happening? Oh my God, is there going to be a fight? But it was
hilarious.
It was like, secretly I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Another fine moment. Western Empires.
Well, that was not last year, but yeah. Oh my God.
Was that last year?
That was 2022. But I mean, okay. that was my big. Ooh, I lost my mind with that game. I was inconsolable. I was not a happy camper. I wonder if I'd be I feel like there are certain game sessions that have kind of broken me.
Sure.
And then I think a lot about why they broke me and like, what can I do to not be broken by that situation? And I will literally talk about them in therapy. And so I do feel like I've grown from each one of these moments.
Sure.
because every time I come back, I'm like, why was I in a bad mood about a game? Like literally Tom had told us the way the game is played is that like you make deals and people can welch on their deals. That's the game. And then I got welched on and I was furious. I had felt like Tom had punched down on me, yada, yada, yada. And
check the archives.
Check the archives. But I don't know. I don't know if I would. I think maybe now I would have a more chill reaction. I'd like to think to Western Empires, but
we should play Western Empires instead of Imperial Steam.
We should do that.
The next time Imperial Steam, Imperial Steam, let's say like Western Empires, because I think I'm ready to play that. You just say that, like,
the thing is this, I just don't think I liked Western Empires beyond. I think if I had liked the game, I might have been okay getting dunked on. Mm-hmm. But I think since I already didn't enjoy the game, like, then it was just, when you're already unhappy and then you get dunked on, it's like, hey, I'm having a bad time. Why are you making me like have a worse time?
No,
but
it was.
I don't know. Maybe I've been working on myself.
Yeah, no,
I've been working on how I react to things.
Like games reveal character.
Yeah,
and and if you don't like what you see, you can change it.
Yeah,
that's literally. If you don't like what you see, you can change it, and if you don't use that opportunity, then you get to repeat it.
And the funny thing is that like it does sort of circle all the way back to the Manhattan Project 2 discussion, mm-hmm. because one thing that I've talked to you about a lot is that like sometimes I do feel like it's hard for me to get the games that I really mm-hmm. want to the table. And I'm like, other people, they just get their games so easily. They just say, I want to play this. And I just don't feel like I have that ability. Like if I say I want to play this, that people are just going to like want to do it. And you've always been like, Ben, you can do it. You just choose not to do it. You like, if you want to be, because I'm always like, I just don't want to be domineering or something. I want to be like, diplomatic. Sure. I don't want to be someone who like comes in and says, this is the game that we're playing, whatever. And you're like, well, Ben, though, if you want to get a game to the table, you know what to do. Just do it. So I've been flexing that muscle. Yeah. So it's like, there's part of that happened with the Manhattan Project thing too. And it's like, and so it's kind of like, ooh, my personal growth screwed over Jordan. But it is like all these things just kind of grow out of I'm always so impressed by how much introspection I wind up having because of game night.
Yeah, no, I think this is why in some ways we come to game night because we want the fellowship, blah, blah, blah. But like, I really think like competition is there to improve yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, talk to any Olympic person. I don't know any. I'm just making this up as I speak. But like,
Hold on, I've got Peekaboo Street on the phone here. That's right. Second.
Like, Simone Biles is on the and you go like, if the other person wasn't as good, you probably wouldn't be as good as you are.
For me, I don't know. The competition is probably part of it. I think for me, like theoretically, any situation that you're in, you're going to grow from, or you're like. But I don't know if I'm as consistently forced to be introspective mm-hmm. about me and like why and my motivations as I am with game night. Mm-hmm. There are other situations that definitely cause it.
Sure.
But like as consistently, and I think it's for me, the reason why is that this is a blocked out time mm-hmm. that like, this is a time where you're supposed to have fun.
Yeah.
And if you come out of there and you are feeling surly or you're feeling angry or you're feeling like, oh, I wasn't heard. And then I think like, but it was supposed to be a fun time. Why wasn't I having fun? It's like that disconnect for me. I then think about why wasn't I having fun? And like that causes me to think about like, why did I react mm-hmm. to that?
Sure.
What is it that was what was triggered and what was it? And a lot of times it's that like I felt like my voice wasn't heard, which really has nothing to do with game night. It has to do with just my life, what I've gone through my life that led me up to that very moment. Someone stepped on a trigger in some way, and a trigger was stepped on at Western Empires. A trigger was stepped on at Age of Steam, probably going into it a little bit. People, everyone has triggers and everyone steps on them all the time. And I feel like with game night, it's just like if you're coming together into a space where we are competing, and so knives are out a little bit more, and it's also supposed to be fun. Like, there's always a good chance you're going to come out being like
a little
cut, and then you say like, why is it that? And I've said this in the podcast before. Why is it I can play an 18xx game, which has really vicious moments, and I can go on the record and say, listen, you just got to roll with it. That's the fun of it. You got to laugh. And then for other games, I can't.
Yeah.
And like, that's what's so cool about it, is like thinking about how all these games.
It's a good hobby. You should get into it.
Yeah. So if you're interested in gaming, can I recommend some starters?
Or you can listen to Cake Talk.
Cake Talk is good too. Cake 2.
That's right. Cake 2. That's right. There we go.
That's a game where you're climbing up a cake.
We can see if Thomas D. Donnelly is good at climbing cakes. He does not like cakes, by the way. He prefers cookies.
That's I totally accept that. So for his birthday, does he not get a birthday cake? Does he do like a birthday pie? Is he one of those people?
We don't know yet. We don't know this year. He hasn't
in
really
the past,
expressed.
In the past, what has he wanted for a birthday dessert?
I think regardless, because he had young children, it was cake. But I think a couple years ago, I got him a bunch of cookies all around LA. So here,
Right.
happy birthday. Here are cookies, you non-cake creep.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love cake?
My mom also does not love cake. She has declared to me.
Is this a type of person, or is this?
I just thought cake was just something universally enjoyed.
So in Australia, when I used to live in Australia, there used to be there are menus in restaurants, and there are 5 desserts, and usually the chocolate, a fruit, blah blah blah. But the 5th dessert is always a cheese plate.
Great.
I am not a cheese person, so one day, I was at a barbecue, and I was thinking, who orders the cheese plate? Obviously, you get the pavlova or the panna cotta or even the chocolate cake or whatever. And then we're at a dessert table at this barbecue, and there were cakes, pies, blah, 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 blah. And then there was a cheese plate. And then this woman comes in and takes the cheese plate. And I literally, out of goes, "You're the 1/5."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Excuse me?"
Or she say, "Excuse me." She's in Australia.
Exactly. So maybe there's a 5th of the population are cookie people who are non-cake cookie people.
Well, but I mean, yeah. I mean, my mom will often say she eats cake, but she's like, I don't really. She will trend towards pie instead.
Pie is great. I love pie.
Yeah, I'm just intrigued to see what Tom would what Tom's birthday. If it's you put what Tom wants a candle in. Maybe it's a muffin or
a board game.
A board game, a cakey board game. Well, I think that's a great way to end the episode. So thank you everyone for listening. And hope you all had a wonderful New Year. I don't have my little script for the end of the episode, so let's see if I can wing this. Okay. You've been listening to Game Brain, produced and edited by Matt Robinson, Tom Donnelly, Trey Alsop, and Ben Mandelker. Art by Edamar Peleg. You can find him at crewbuloni.com or at crewbuloni on Instagram. Also, music by Daedalus. So thanks. And go play some games with friends, or find some friends with games.
And
there was probably another sentence in there.
Yeah, but yay.